Hi, thank you, Mrs. Chiranji. Honored platform guests, graduates, teachers, staff, and parents, and friends. Robert? Now, there's a picture up on, you can see in front of you, and for the platform guests at the way back, I'm not sure how clear it is. Maybe if you can turn the lights off at the back, that'd be great. This was a picture done in 1980. My topic today is about change. So let's find Waldo. Who is Mr. Chan? Now, you can see Mr. Chan fairly easily, I believe. And where am I? The man with the hair, right? So you can see right away change. Just by looking at our hair, you can see change that's happened since 1980. This was the first staff that delivered total care. This was the origin of our total care education system, which has changed tremendously over the years. I recall observing students who would come to school at that time without preparing lunches because they'd never had to do this in their own countries. So they came without a prepared lunch. We didn't have a residence at that time. So working with the student council, we decided to, half an hour before every lunchtime, go out and purchase from a nearby deli buns and sandwich meats so that students could have a lunch with milk and chocolate milk as well. So that was the first steps, baby steps towards total care. The second baby steps, we would go visit students in their apartments because, again, many of them had lived at home and didn't know really how to keep an apartment or a room clean. So we would give them advice on how to clean. This group, this staff that you see here, met every Friday after school, either at someone's home or apartment or at a restaurant, and this was the first circle of care. We would sit and discuss students who might be having academic difficulties, who might be having social, emotional, or health issues, and we would come up with plans and action plans to take care of them. So this was our first baby steps again in total care. I believe we had less than 100 students at that point in time, Mr. Chan, and about, how many staff members do you count there? Jennifer? 11. So today we have, on the average, close to 1,800 students and 450 staff members. So you can see a tremendous change that has taken place over the years. Let me ask the audience for a moment, even change in your life. How many of you were born, or baby boomers? It means you were born between 1945 and 1960. Show of hands. How many baby boomers in here? We got a few on the stage as well. What was the major technological or product that defined your generation? Well, for me, it was television, right? You had lots of new TVs, color TVs, and all kinds of fancy stuff coming out. Television defined our generation. What about Generation Xers, born between 1961 and 80? Show of hands. Generation Xers. What was the defining technology of your age? What's that? Space, yeah. Personal computers made their first appearance then, didn't they? Around the late 70s. Generation Y, born from 81 to 95. How many in here? Okay, what was the defining technology of your age? Cell phones, tablets, smartphones, right? And in Generation Z, our graduates, what's your defining technology? Well, you'll probably be into 3D printing by the time you get to university. You'll be into Google Glasses and all that fun stuff. So even the technology has changed fairly significantly from the early adopters such as myself, and I know Mr. Chan and others of us who felt that we were so, when we first started into computers, we felt we were so leading edge, when today we're dinosaurs, right? But the change, there's been tremendous change over the years. Let's fast forward today to what our total care education system looks like now. Today we have a primary circle of care for every student. And you might not have been aware of this, students, but you had always teachers, student development staff, resident staff, campus security staff, medical clinic staff watching you daily just to make sure that you were okay, and that if you needed a little help here or there, a little intervention, they would nudge you and push you in the right direction. And for the majority of students, that's all you needed. Then there's another possibly 10% of students who might need a little extra intervention because you had a difficult time adjusting or the pressures of studying, time management issues, and these students would be referred to our next level of total care, which is called a Circle of Care Committee. And this Circle of Care Committee met every Thursday to review and to come up with plans to help students academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. And then there was the final 10% of students who might need in-depth intervention because they had difficulties adjusting, would need counseling, and they were referred to the Social Emotional Empowerment Committee. So we had all these different levels of intervention and total care that we did not have 36 years ago. And so total care is like this, well, the symbol are the hands, but it's like this invisible circle encompassing each student, making sure that you got the best possible care academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. So, future. Change happens. There have been a lot of changes at CIC in the past year. We've had a new general manager, Mr. Pat Hurley. We've replaced about 10 senior operations staff due to retirements. So that's 11 senior managers. On the academic side, we've had a replacement, we've had a new math department head, and we'll be having a new principal come August, towards the end of August. A few years ago, I announced that I would step down as principal in 2017. So as part of that process, we have hired a new principal who will start in August, and I'll be there to mentor that person, Mr. Saunders, to mentor him for at least 1 or 2 semesters until he has fully absorbed and understands the culture of the organization. So again, that's another major change that's happening in the future. I'll still be here and helping out in different ways at Mr. Chan's request. So I am still passionate about total care. And total care is moving in new directions. Specifically, academically, we're moving into a blended learning mode of delivering academic programs. Blended learning is a way of, well, let me go back for a minute to the Industrial Revolution. And many of you weren't born then. I wasn't, by the way. And the factory, what I call the factory model of schools, was developed at that time. Because in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, people were expected to go to work in factories or in farms. So there was a hierarchy. The worker had to report to the foreman reported to the manager reported to the owners. And so there was this hierarchy of reporting, and workers had to be trained to follow that hierarchy. And so the schools in the early schools, the model was a factory model, because you had the student, then the teacher, then the principal, then the superintendent of education, and then the boards of education. And this was a way of training students to be ready for the factories that they worked in later in life. Today, that hierarchy is gone. And today, many students will be in business for themselves, it'll be sort of a level playing field with no hierarchy of people to report to. So our blended learning initiative, which our pilot will run in January 2017, if all goes well, is a way of using technology and blending technology with the traditional classroom to allow students, or to personalize learning for students. Let me give you a brief sample of what this might look like. Currently, if a teacher has 4 classes, they may have, on the average, 23 students per class, so a teacher could have 90 students. When the class first starts, in a regular semester or summer semester, the teacher has to gather evidence about the students' ability to learn and how they learn best, and where their strengths lie and where they need extra help. And this could take, depending on how fast the teacher can assess and gather that information, can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks at the start of a semester to understand the learning needs of every student and to individualize those learning needs. What blended learning does, it helps to computerize that process. There's a piece of software will sit in the background, and based on input from the teachers and students every day, it will generate a profile of each student. So the teacher, within a few days or weeks, could say, aha, this student learns best by reading or by watching a video or by doing something in class. So it's a way of personalizing learning for each individual student much more quickly, and would allow the teacher then to focus on the individual learning needs of every student. So this is an exciting change that we will pilot starting in 2017 and hope to implement fully by 2019 January. Exciting times. I keep saying this, but I've been privileged to have been here for almost 37 years, and I thank Mr. Chan for the opportunity, and I thank the staff, especially obviously the academic staff, the department heads and the teachers. I thank the support staff. I thank the operations staff. We work as a team. Total Care is not an individual department effort. It's a combined effort of everyone, all departments working together to provide those caring hands to make sure that every student, every graduate gets the best possible care. Graduates, change. My theme is change. You are going to go through tremendous change in the next few months as you move to university. I want you to keep 3 things in mind. 3 P's: purpose, passion, and perseverance. And I'm talking from my own experience in my career. If you look at that picture, I was probably in my middle 20s. I finished university. I was gung-ho. I had all kinds of passion and purpose. But my passion was for teaching. And it came to me when I was teaching. I was 17 years old, growing up in South America, and I was teaching a grade 9 science class. And I had this one student. His name was, well, I won't mention his name because he's in Canada now. But I'll tell you a little bit about it. Let's call him Archer. And Archer was in grade 9 science. He had failed grade 9 science 3 times. So he was in my class. New teacher. And every other teacher said, there's no way you can help him. You can't help him. He's just disruptive. You can't help Archer. And I thought, I'm young enough. I could reach out to him. And I did. I made a connection. And he did well in science after that because he was motivated. Today, he's a professor in the engineering department of one of the top universities here in Ontario. And he sent me an email about a couple of years ago with a picture from 1969 that said, Mr. Rambarran, you may not remember me, but you taught me, you made a connection with me, and based on that, I pursued science, and today I'm the Dean of Engineering at this university. And I thought, wow, I've had the privilege of seeing myself make a difference in the world. So you've got to find that passion. You've got to find that purpose. How do you want to change the world? Stop for a minute and think. How do you want to change the world? And by changing the world, I don't mean changing the entire world. It could be changing your community. It could be changing your business that you work in, the city you live in, the country you belong to. How do you want to change the world? My passion was for teaching, and was for helping international students, because I came to Canada as an international student myself. So what is your purpose? How will you change the world? Ask yourself that question. Because unless you have a passion, it becomes a job. Once you find that purpose and passion, perseverance is important. Because there are going to be times when you think, oh wow, I've got such a far way to go to achieve my goal and to find that purpose that you want to give up. And those are the times when you go back to your purpose and say, no, this is how I'm going to change the world. This is my passion, and I will persevere. I'll continue to do what I'm doing because I know at the end of that road, I will have made a difference. I will have changed the world. Thank you.